Hello, welcome to Master Mathematics. My name is Mr. A, and in this video you are going to learn how to solve equations by adding or subtracting decimals. So if you watch the how to solve equations by adding and subtracting, the steps are going to look very similar, these two steps right here. But now we've got decimals in there, so it makes it a little more complicated, a little more challenging, but that's a good thing, a good challenge, a good struggle to solve these. So the steps for solving equations by adding or subtracting decimals are here. As I mentioned, there are only two of them, so let's go over those now and then get into our two examples. First is identify the variable and the operation in the equation. So let's look at our first example here. We look and we see that the variable is x and the operation is subtraction. So that's going to come important when we get to step 2. So step 2 is to use the inverse operation. The word inverse here means opposite, so we're going to use the opposite operation to isolate the variable on one side of the equation. And that's the goal of these. We want to get this x in this first example by itself. We don't want this minus 8.6 or 8 6/10 over here. We want to get rid of that. We want that by itself because on this side of the equal sign is where our answer is going to be. So we have to use the opposite operation to do that. So what's the opposite of subtraction? Well, that's addition. So we are going to add, and what we are going to add is 8.6 or 8 6/10 to each side. What we do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other. So negative 8.6 plus 8.6, this first step on the left here, we're going to cross that out because that equals 0. Now, we're going to do the addition on the other side of the equation. So we are going to do 5.7 or 5 7/10 plus 8 6/10. So when I add those together, the first thing to do when I add decimals is I have to bring that decimal point down right away. And I need to do that before I forget or make a mistake there. So 6 plus 7 is 13. Bring down the 3. Carry the 1. 5 plus 8 is 13, plus 1 is 14, and I have 14 3/10 or 14.3. Now, looking at the left side of the equation, I do have the x here. It is by itself, and I'm going to bring down the x because I didn't do anything with that, and the equal sign. So when I bring those down, we have x equals 14.3. And that is the answer to the equation. You can check it by plugging 14.3 back into the original problem for x and then doing your subtraction there. I'm not going to do that here for you, but you can do that to check your answer. Instead, I'm going to move on to example number 2. And what I would suggest for you right now is if you're comfortable, if you think you know this, I would pause the video right here, do the second example. All right, complete the second example. Then when you are done, unpause the video and see if you got the answer correct and if you did your work properly. Okay, so in the second example, we have 102.28 or 102 and 28 hundredths equals n plus 39.75 or 39 75 hundredths. So what I am going to do here is I am going to, one, identify the variable. So the variable is n. And I'm going to identify the operation, which is addition. Okay, step 1 done. Now I need to move on to step 2, where I use the inverse operation to isolate the variable on one side of the equation. So in this case, the operation is addition. So I'm going to use the inverse operation, which is subtraction. And I'm going to subtract 39.75 from both sides of the equation. And let me just write that in here. And again, super important to make sure when you subtract or add decimals that you line those decimal points up. You really want to do that this way you don't make any mistakes in the math here and in the addition or subtraction, because having that decimal point off by just one space gives you a wrong answer, okay? So want to make sure that you line up those decimal points and the place values as they should be. So let's look at the right side of the equation now, the side with the variable, the n plus 39 and 75 hundredths side. All right, 39 and 75 hundredths minus 39.75 equals 0. So I'm going to cross those out. And then now I'm going to look at the left side of the equation here, where we have 102.28 minus 39.75. Let's do that math. 5 minus 8 is 3. Oh, first step, I almost missed it. Before I do that, let's bring this decimal point down. All right, now 5 minus 8 is 3. 2 minus 7, I can't do, so I need to borrow. I'm going to cross out that 2, make it an 11. Add a 1 there, so I can make the 2 a 12. 12 minus 7 is 5. Bring that down here. Now, we go on to this side. And I don't know why I said I'm going to make that 2 and 11. I don't make the 2 and 11. I make the 2 a 1. All right, there we go. Whew. Got that one now. Now, 1 minus 9. 1 minus 9. Can't do that one. So, can I borrow from 0, though? No. But I can borrow from that 1. So I borrow from the 1, that becomes a 0. The 0 becomes a 10. Now I have to borrow from that 10. The 10 becomes a 9. I know that's a lot of crossing out right there. And now the 1 becomes an 11. So, it took me a moment to get there, but the 11 minus 9 is 2. And 9 minus 3 is 6. And then that is a 0 on the end there in the hundreds place. So our answer here, we have 62.53. Again, we're going to bring down the equal sign, bring down the n, and then if we wanted to, you could, again, check your answer by plugging in 62 and 53 hundredths in for n, and then doing the work in the initial problem. Like I said, we're not going to do that today, but you could if your heart desires. Thank you so much for being here. Once again, my name is Mr. A. This channel is called Master Mathematics. If you have not liked the video yet, please make sure you do so. Please give the video a subscribe, hit the notification button as well. And until next time, adios.